Sex Talk with Erika Miley. 'Cause sexuality is tough. And okay, sex just isn't good enough, no. Sex Talk with Erika Miley.
Hey folks, welcome to Sex Talk with Erika Miley. Erika Miley here. Glad to be with you all this week. I want to talk about sex hygiene. That sounds super cool and interesting, right? How to take care of your genitalia before and after sex. I think this is a really, really important step. We're going to talk a little bit about ways to keep yourself clean, keep yourself from getting UTIs, and generally have a really, really good time with your genitals so you don't have to be so worried about pain, itchies, or any of the other things that come with no fun yeast infections and UTIs and other various bacterial things that happen when we don't take care of ourselves. So I just want to jump right in here. I hope you all have had a good week, and I'm kind of like jumping ahead of myself because I really want to dive right into things that we don't think about, because a lot of times we think a lot about getting to the sex part or the pre-sex part, but we don't think about the cleaning, and we don't think about ways to take care of ourselves even before. We're so focused on like, oh, how does my body look? Or am I going to be good enough? That sometimes we miss this very crucial piece of having sex. So one of the things that oftentimes will happen for folks is that they don't have some basic understanding of what they need to do or they're not doing. So I'm going to talk about this in a couple different ways. But first I want to address this very specific thing, especially for my female-bodied folks. You must pee after having sex. So here's why. One of the things that is specific to the vagina is that where the urethra is and how it can be rubbed against during sex, it provides like excellent opportunity for bacteria to go up into the urethra and cause those nasty UTI infections, which are not fun to deal with. Now, the way to do this and to at least aid yourself in being able to not get a UTI is to pee after having sex, because then that helps, the urine helps to flush out the urethral tube so that you're less likely to have that bacteria go up. It goes down into the toilet. So please, please, please pee after you have sex. It is incredibly helpful, and it will help you flush everything out. And even if you don't feel like you have to go, try to do it. You want your body to try to do that kind of flushing action to get that bacteria out. Okay. Number 2. This is really important with any orifice, but more specifically with a penis and a vagina. So if you want to have anal sex and you would like to go from anus to vagina, you have to take a couple of steps first. Sometimes people think that they can go from anus straight into the vagina. The problem with this is that you are introducing new bacteria from the anus into the vagina, and you can cause some infections. And that's no fun for anybody involved. So it is really, really important to not go straight from anus into the vagina. It doesn't have to necessarily just be with a penis either. So if you're using toys, if you're using fingers, if you're using mouth, whatever you are using, the rectum isn't necessarily a dirty place, but it has a different form of bacteria. It just does. So being very cognizant of not taking anything that you are going to penetrate the anus with into a vagina directly without cleaning it first is very, very, very important. Number 3, you or your partner are not washing your hands before sex. Oh, come on, folks. Come on, folks. We are out in this world touching doorknobs, I'm going to sound like a germaphobe right now, but You are touching lots of things in this world that have lots of kinds of bacteria, lots of kinds of germs. And before you have sex, you have a wonderful opportunity to potentially, you could make this even kind of fun. You can go in the shower and everybody washes their hands and washes all their parts and then gets down to business. Washing those hands before and after sex is really, really important. Again, we live in a bacteria-filled world. Please don't introduce that bacteria into any mouths, noses, ears, vaginas, penises, butts. Like, we don't need all that bacteria in all those other places. So wash those hands. Next, I really want to, this might sound a little backwards. This kind of goes back to the peeing after sex. Sometimes people will think that they need to pee before sex. I mean, obviously, if you have to pee, you go pee. But if you do have the opportunity to wait until after sex, it is much better to pee after sex rather than before sex. Because if you pee right before you have sex, you have more of a likelihood to introduce that bacteria that you're not wanting to introduce necessarily into that urethra. So, pee after sex. I know it sounds redundant, but I promise you will have a much better time. Number 5, you're not cleaning genitalia after sex, period. So it is really, really important that after sex, you give yourself the opportunity to clean. So that can be in the shower with water. The people that have vaginas, it's super, super important that you're using water and no soap. So that might sound counterintuitive, but the vagina is actually very, very good at cleaning itself. So using just water and your hands to get your vagina clean is perfectly fine. And then making sure that you are doing that right after sex, because lubricants, hands, fingers, all those things have bacteria, right? Lubricants can have perfumes and things like that can be hard on the body if you're not using body safe lubricants. So be very, very sure that you clean after sex. That will be very, very helpful in reducing the number of yeast infections and UTIs you might get. Next, using a condom can actually be very, very helpful in this as well, because you're also protecting yourself from STIs and you are also protecting from some bacteria. So using a condom can be helpful in this situation. Now, the other thing that we often don't talk about, or maybe we are afraid of feeling that we're being judgy or whatever the case may be, but we're sometimes not concerned about our partner's hygiene. And this is a really important thing, because me caring about my body is also caring about my partner's body. And the same goes for your partner. Your partner caring about their body means that they are caring for your body. I'm not talking about fitness. I'm not talking about weight loss. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I am talking about hygiene and making sure that you are clean and, use a little bit of water to clean up any of the bacteria and the sweat from the day so that both of you have an enjoyable, pleasure-filled experience. Neither one of you are going to hopefully deal with then any infections after that pleasurable experience. So it's okay to ask about hygiene. It's okay to engage in that hygiene together. That's even more fun. So jump in that shower, get cleaned up, and then have a good old time. Quick break from the action, folks. Action. I just want to tell you about my Patreon. Every week, I bring you guests and seriously, lots of sex nerdery. Help me keep doing that by becoming a supporter. What do you get in return? Cool perks. For real. I am going to be doing shout outs, stickers, a bunch of stuff. So check it out at erikamiley.com/Patreon. That's ERIKAMILEY.com/Patreon. I hope to see you and see more of you by becoming a Patreon. Thanks, guys. Next, this is probably one of the most common things that I hear from people, or they forget, or whatever the case may be. I mean, we all get a little sleepy after sex, so let's be real. But it is really, really, really important to clean your sex toys after you've used them. Now, there are soaps that are specifically used for toys that they don't cause the toy to break down unnecessarily. And the other thing is there are toys, like there are wonderful like glass toys that you don't have to use a special soap on or anything like that. There are lots of different options here to clean your sex toys, and make sure that you dry them and then store them properly, because they can grow bacteria after you've put them away. So it is really, really important for your body safety and your partner's body safety to be cleaning your toys regularly, preferably after every use. Next. Dun, dun, dun. You and your partner, this is tough, folks. I know that this is a tough and scary thing. You and your partner may not have been tested. This is one of those hygiene things that we don't think of as hygiene. So STI testing is really, really, really important. Understanding what you might have been exposed to is really, really, really important. Not only for your own health, and like I've said just a few minutes ago, for your partner's health too. You caring about your STDs and STIs is caring for your partner and making sure that everyone has full knowledge of what is happening. It is a whole nother level of consent, so that when a person knows that maybe a person is dealing with a herpes diagnosis, and people will often think, well, no one will ever want to have sex with me if I have an STI. Here's the reality. STIs are incredibly common. I've talked about this in a previous episode. I actually have an episode that someone talks about their experience with having an STI, Katie Warren. It's a wonderful, wonderful episode. You all go back and listen to it if you have a chance. But please, please, please get tested. There are many, many clinics that will do it for free. Find a Planned Parenthood near you, and please get tested today. Next, maybe not next. This is more of like the overall kind of like the overall way to think about keeping yourself clean and thinking of hygiene. You are thinking about consent. You are thinking about keeping yourself clean as well as your partner's clean. And then this doesn't have to be scary, or you don't have to feel weird about it. We all must take care of our bodies and learn how to take care of our bodies. And our cultures aren't necessarily really good at teaching us how to do that. Oftentimes people have sex ed that tells them to stay away from sex and then doesn't give them any instruction on how to have safe and healthy and hygienic sex. So please know that this isn't, oh, you're just stinky and you should feel bad. That's not my intention of this podcast. My intention of this podcast is to help people understand that we all have to take care of our bodies, and that we haven't been given the rule book. Many of us have had pretty limited sex education. So please know you're not alone. And this, in creating a sexual health routine for yourself, it absolutely can make your sex life better and better for your partner. Now, if you have any questions, or you have some thoughts about like what has been a really good routine for you, feel free to hit me up, Erika at erikamiley.com. I'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget about the Patreon. I'd love to have you join us, and I'd give you a shout out to the podcast. Also, heads up, we hit over 10,000 downloads. Yeah. Whoop, 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 whoop. Everybody is getting the word out about this podcast, and I really appreciate it. Keep it up. We need to, as a community, really reduce shame around sex. We're all having it, folks, whether it's with ourselves or other people. I am so glad you joined me this week. You all have a fantastic weekend and a week ahead. See you all soon. Thanks for listening, folks. please rate and review on iTunes. It helps this podcast get found. If you leave a 5-star review, let me know about it on any social media, and I'll shout you out on the podcast. You can find my website at erikamiley.com. You can find me on Facebook, the Gram, and Twitter. See y'all next time.